So, has there ever been a TV couple that everyone seems to love and you just don't get it? Matter of fact, you might even hate that pairing. That's what I need to talk about today. 5 fictional couples that I just hate. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mind and More, where we talk about anything that comes to mind and more. Today, let's talk about 5 TV couples that I would rather not see on my screen. We're going to go in order, starting from number 5, which is a couple that annoys me just a little bit, until we get all the way to number 1, which is a couple that has made me lose sleep a number of times. Without further ado, let's go. Number 5 is Iris West and Barry Allen from The Flash, the series. In last place, we have Mr. and Mrs. West Allen. I loved The Flash, and optically, Barry and Iris are a great pairing. Iris is beautiful and Barry is a good-looking guy, so they look great together. However, there's one thing many seem to forget. These two were raised as siblings. This happened after Barry moved in with Iris and Joe at 10 years old when his mother died and his father went to prison. They weren't biologically related, but I think being raised as siblings makes a very strange foundation for a romance. Apart from that, as the series progressed, I couldn't stand their scenes. Some of them were hard to watch, honestly. I get that The Flash is pretty much about a guy who runs fast in a rubber suit and it can't be taken too seriously, but gosh, the cringe became too much. And that's the main reason why they landed on this list. I started watching this show when I was a teenager, and in earlier seasons, I even had moments when I was rooting for them. But all the run Barry run moments, the cheesy exchanges between them, and how the relationship sometimes had no concrete challenges to keep it feeling real, made me dislike Barry and Iris the more I watched the show. I honestly wouldn't have minded if Iris had ended up with Eddie and Barry with some other nice girl he'd met. Anyway, they became cringe, and that was my main problem with them. Let's move on. Number 4, Shirley and Andre Bennett from Community. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett used to piss me off. I loved Malcolm Jamal Warner as Theo Huxtable, but I could not stand him as Andre Bennett. This is Shirley and Andre's story. Shirley first went to Greendale after divorcing Andre because he cheated on her, then left her for the stripper he cheated with. He didn't just leave her, he also left their 2 kids. At the time, she'd been a stay-at-home parent, so he basically left her and the kids when she had no income. After a while, Andre then asked for his ring back from Shirley so that he could propose to the woman he cheated with. I mean, imagine that, asking for your ring back so you can propose to the person you cheated with. Then, about 2 years later, he hooked up with Shirley while he was still married to the stripper. Then she got pregnant. There was some confusion over whether the baby was Andre or Chang's because Shirley had slept with Chang during a night that absolutely no one remembered at Greendale. The thrill eventually died down and Andre came back to Shirley. They had their 3rd baby and got remarried. Just before the 2nd wedding, Andre said he was expecting things to go back to the way they were, where Shirley was basically there to just help him achieve his goals that were taking ages to take off the ground, by the way, while she abandoned her own. Despite this mismatch of expectations, they went ahead with the ceremony and tried again. And this was a big mistake, because after giving things a second chance, they broke up again because Andre felt Shirley was spending too much time on her work. So it was okay for him to miss Thanksgiving dinner because he was working at his store and leave her with his nasty family, but it wasn't okay for Shirley to also show some investment in her work. This time, Andre can't stay put Bennett, left with all their kids. Shirley had spent all her life being nothing but absolutely devoted to her family, only to be left in the dust the one time she decided to add to her identity and be a businesswoman along with being a wife and a mom. Andre could not handle being a support for her like she'd always been a support to him, and when things didn't go exactly as he wanted, his first instinct was to always leave. This couple is on this list because of their messy love story. I don't like Andre, and it upsets me so much that Shirley took him back. Shirley fought for her independence, and it was clear that when Andre came back, they now had different visions, which would be very difficult to reconcile. The first time around, infidelity broke them up. and the second time around, it was obvious that they were no longer compatible. Their story was just so unpleasant to follow. Next, at number 3, we have Serena van der Woodsen and Dan Humphrey from Gossip Girl. So Serena and Dan were a bad pairing. This couple could only exist in a TV show because in real life, their relationship would be a truly dangerous one. Their relationship was built on nothing but lies and judgment and obsession. I think I will need to do a more in-depth video to explain just how bad this couple is. But for today, let's talk about how Dan turned out to be Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl was a kind of tabloidy blog that would publish Serena and her inner circle secrets, and Dan, who was Serena's boyfriend, was its author. For years, Dan stayed close to Serena so he could publish damaging information about her, her family, and her friends. How can you claim to love someone while secretly working to damage their reputation? Stepping in to comfort them when you're secretly the reason why their life is falling apart. Huh? This reminds me so much of Pretty Little Liars when it turned out that Ezra had been A, but worse. I mean, I'm not saying Dan and Serena were a worse couple because Ezra had their many issues, but how Dan played Serena was much worse. Dan would judge Serena and her friends, pretending to be on this moral high ground while simultaneously ruining her life. None of the people in Gossip Girl were perfect, but Dan was for sure not morally superior. Everything that Dan did proved that he hated Serena, so there was absolutely no reason why they should have been endgame. They had no business getting married. I mean, what do you tell your kids? Yes, your father basically stalked me and was actively destroying mine and my friends' lives for years, and that's how I knew he was the one. What? Gossip Girl is an insane show, and Dan and Serena are the craziest part of it. At number 2, we have Rachel Green and Ross Geller from Friends. This couple is celebrated by many, and I just don't understand why. They were on and off for years, and by the time they got together for good in season 10, I was over it. They met other people who were better matches for them along the way, that it just made no sense for them to end up together. There were many things that were wrong with this couple, but we'll just focus on one thing: jealousy. Ross and Rachel's breakup that resulted in the big "we were on a break" debate resulted from jealousy. Ross was jealous that Rachel was spending too much time at her new job with her new co-worker Mark. Mind you, this was Rachel's big break, so she was putting in the time to make it work. Ross then made things all about his jealousy by constantly assuming that something was going on between Mark and Rachel and questioning her about it. Ross could not control his jealousy when it came to Rachel. In season 1, he was so jealous about Rachel and Paolo that he ended up kissing Chandler's mom out of frustration. When Rachel wanted to move in with Ross, he tried to break up Monica and Chandler, his best friend and his sister, by the way, because he wanted Rachel to go back to staying with Monica, because he couldn't stand the fact that she would end up bringing guys to their place. Also, it was a kind of "if you're not with me, you can't be with anyone else" situation. When Rachel started dating Joey, Ross lost it and acted a fool because he was jealous. Yet he was simultaneously dating a girl that Joey was initially dating. The double standards of it all. Come on, man. Now that's Ross, but Rachel also had some issues with jealousy. I love me some Rachel Green, and although she's nowhere near as bad as Ross, she also had her bad moments. Moments like when she convinced Ross's girlfriend to shave her head so that Ross wouldn't be interested in her anymore, and it actually worked. Because not only was Ross jealous, turns out he could also be shallow. Or another time when Ross was dating Julie, who was a great match for him, by the way, and Rachel was really jealous the entire time. Eventually, Ross and Julie's relationship ended because he kissed Rachel while still with Julie. But that's on Ross. He shouldn't have done that. I won't mention how much Ross undermined Rachel's career because the main reason I hated this couple is because of the jealousy in their relationship. This jealousy showed possessiveness and insecurity, and it was mainly coming from Ross. And no one can tell me that makes for a cute couple. I'm sorry. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more stuff like this, why not just subscribe? But now we finally reached the top position, number 1. And that's Ted Mosby and Robin Scherbatsky from How I Met Your Mother. If there's matches made in heaven, Ted and Robin were a match made in hell. They were extremely incompatible. They wanted completely different things in life. Ted desperately wanted marriage and kids, and Robin wanted to pursue her career and be independent, and she definitely didn't want children. Despite this, Ted kept on pining for Robin for 9 seasons straight, and regardless of the fact that most of us had long gotten over the fact that Ted and Robin would never be together, the writers forced them together in the season finale. I mean, they even had a moment where Robin told Ted that she didn't love him, which is crazy for those to be the people that they bring together at the end. The writers have nerve. They spent an entire season on Robin and Barney's wedding and the entire show on the search for the mother, only to have Barney and Robin divorce and them killing off Tracy at the very last minute. They could have ended up with anyone else but each other. Tracy should have never been tossed away like that in the last few minutes of the show. Ted didn't deserve her, but they seemed like a decent match. They were definitely better than anything we ever saw between Ted and Robin. On the other hand, Robin was far better off with Barney or Don or Kevin. Anyone else would have worked. There's not enough adjectives in the world to describe how bad this pairing is. All I know is I hate this couple, and I hate the writers of How I Met Your Mother even more. Anyway, time to cool off. Those were the top 5 couples I hate. What's your take? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know.